Jupiter, Florida, Blue Gorilla Digital. Hello, Austin.
Hi, Joan.
Hello, Anthony.
Hi, Joan. Hi, Austin.
Hi, Anthony.
Thanks for joining us today, Anthony.
Thank you.
Anthony is our supreme
Yeah.
digital specialist, strategist.
I will take any title that you want to give
Yeah.
me that sounds
No,
like that.
I would
I was
say
going to
all of
say
the above,
King
right?
of Awesomeness,
Yeah.
if that's okay.
Yeah. Facebook.
Yeah.
He really knows that shit too.
Mm.
So
All of that shit.
super smart.
All
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
How's your day going?
It's going good. How about yours?
It's going. It's reporting day / changeover, so it's a little...
What? It's changeover today? I thought that was last week.
Nope.
For me, see, I fall into the end part of changeover because I wait for the assets to be given out, and I still got to
Okay.
wait for all the vendors and everything.
So
Gotta mess with
Anthony
that.
has been in the advertising marketing world, for not the agency world, but just advertising marketing for how long?
Advertising and marketing, I would say since 2017, so about 4 years.
He's a
of
he's a
professional
baby.
experience.
He is a baby, but he's conquered a heck of a lot in
Yeah.
the short time that
he
he's been
has.
in the game.
And a lot of it, I
Thank you.
believe, is self-taught.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mhm.
He is definitely a very resourceful person. So when we give him a challenge, he really digs in deep.
I don't know if dig is
And-
the right. I want to say
Wait, wait, say-
geek. I think you geek
Geek?
out with information.
Do you geek
Like
out?
that's what you do. You
Yeah.
literally geek out. Like you just put your headphones in and you rock.
He looks for the answer and doesn't stop
True.
until he gets the answer, plain and simple.
What's 7 times 3?
21.
Okay. See, he knows the answer.
So 2017, you start in the advertising marketing world, but in a different sector, right?
Mhm.
Because we're an automotive agency, and now you see what this end of the world does as opposed to the other market segment that you were in. So, like, what would you say is like the biggest thing that you've been learning here?
Biggest thing I've been learning here is efficiency. I think efficiency is a big part of being involved, especially in an agency life where you have multiple clients that have demands that you need to be able to meet efficiently as well as grow in that time. A big part of what you were talking about, I think, take the extracurricular activities almost double like what you do during the workday. I think ambient learning is where you really get the nitty gritty.
That's a
where you really-
great word you said
An-
right there.
ambient
learning.
That's a new one
Ambient
on
learning.
me.
Yep.
See, I learn something from Anthony every day, so
I do
that's
too.
cool.
Thank you.
Ambient learning.
Ambient learning. Okay. So what does that mean exactly? Tell me again.
More,
I have to ask him the same question at least 3 times until I really get it.
so it's more like between 9 and 5. It's a lot. This is the execute time. It's the time to get things done for the clients, get your reporting in line, and also see what optimizations you can make. I think a big part of learning and growing as a professional that I'm seeing is what you do outside of the workplace. What you like.
You
for
mean your own
example-
personal development?
Yeah.
Okay.
Personal development or even just expertise in specific things you're working on. I mean, following people like Gary Vee that we both
Yeah.
follow,
Yeah.
and the vast amount of content that's available
Yeah.
on the internet.
There's
I think
so
is-
much content and there's so many good people that want to share it,
Mhm.
right? But you got to find them,
Yeah.
right? Because there's a lot of garbage out there too. So you kind of have to weed through all that and look for the really smart people, right?
Mhm.
Because you learn a lot from them way quicker than you do working anywhere, right? Because nobody could possibly have all this vast information in one agency, right?
Mhm.
So you have to constantly be out there looking, learning. I mean, I do it myself, you know. It's where we're always passing around, be on this webinar, read this article. And that's how you learn.
I think that actually brings up a good point too about how the entire advertising world has developed and changed so much because, for example, 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't go to a competing advertising agency to learn or gain knowledge on something. It would be something you hold close to your heart, or you hold like Fort Knox. Now it is completely different, where you're bouncing ideas off of other professionals and people that you would have 10, 15 years ago as a competitor.
Mm-hmm.
Air quotes for those of you who can't see this, but you're now bouncing those ideas off of those people so you can perfect your craft in another area. And I think that's really, it's incredible. Like, it's just really, really cool to be able to do that. And Anthony, you're definitely one of those. I mean, you're always bouncing ideas off of not just us here. I mean, I know you have thousands of conversations, and specifically with Facebook, trying to figure out right now the 14.5 update and stuff like that. But you're always reaching out, you're asking questions, and it's not just specific to what we have under this roof. And I think it's very important and awesome for you to take that, to give an olive branch and to take an olive branch. Like, that's pretty damn cool.
Well, too, and I think in the advertising world, it's really important that you understand the analytics, right? It's not enough anymore to just be creative.
Yeah.
Right. So today, for somebody like you that really enjoys that, you dive down into those numbers and you're analyzing them and you're pivoting on behalf of the client. So if their Facebook ad campaign is not performing or you're A/B testing, you're moving things around at the drop of a dime, right? Because
Correct.
that's how you have to optimize it. And if you're not doing that, then we're not spending the client's money wisely, right? What would you say is one of the biggest things for the automotive industry to pay attention to right now within Facebook advertising?
Within Facebook, I think the shift to first-party data is going to be a game changer for every industry, especially for automotive. I mean, the main car buying process, you're more than likely not going to end up with an anonymized email address the way that iOS 15 is going to end up pushing forward. But I think a huge part of what a lot of dealers need to get ahead of is first-party data, how they're going about digital retailing and collecting other forms of ways to retarget their customers when tools like Facebook and Google aren't going to hand it to you. I think
So what do you think is on the horizon then?
Anonymous.
We talked a lot about the Google My Business today. Having some conversations about that and moving away from like website to just, nesting that Google My Business and categorizing it and putting all of your information in there and how we feel like it's gonna shift again. Would you say that?
I would agree in a big way. I think the years of, from 2009 to say today, over the past 11 or so years, you've seen these growing like self-publishing ad platforms like Facebook, Google, Bing, all these different types of platforms. Now everybody is very concerned with privacy. So I think there's going to we're entering into the 90s when like Web 3.0. It's how are you still going to track your customer's journey while everything is anonymized?
Right.
Which platform is going to be the dominant one? I think it's even though it's a scary time in this industry.
It is scary.
I think it's also a time
It's
for
opportunistic,
yeah. Everybody's on the same playing field. People who spend $3 million a month on Facebook are on the same.
Because that's been one of the biggest things as well. Is how many times have we heard about big names, big players playing against the small teams, and the small teams just can't compete. So now, like what you're saying, you're literally equaling the playing field.
Yeah.
So I think that's very curious to see what that's going to actually do.
Yeah.
And there's so many different ideas being tossed around. You have like the Brave browser, which is an anonymized way of showing ads, which keeps user privacy at heart, but also rewards the user in a form of cryptocurrency. So that's a very interesting platform.
Oh, I like that.
Jones is just perked up a little bit on that.
Oh, we need to have an off conversation about that one. I like that one. Awesome. What do you think is going to happen to pay-per-click? Just your opinion.
Pay-per-click is interesting. I mean, it's, especially in regards to like Google search and things of that nature, it's very intent-based. So you have there's a high user intent.
Well, it's at the end of the funnel, right? It's
Exactly.
like at that last step, right? Otherwise, does it really work? I don't know.
I think it's as pure of a motive as you can. If someone goes to your VDP page, you don't know exactly what type of car they're looking for. But when they go and look up, Santa Fe accessories, you know exactly what they're going for. It's a little bit easier to break them down into different segments and different ways to target those customers.
So you're fairly young,
Mhm.
obviously, as compared to me. How would you explain to a principal owner of a car dealer how you search for a car? You're ready to buy a car. What do you do?
My personal starting point
Your
was
journey. Everybody's journey is different, but from the mindset of a very smart, young 20 something. I don't know your age. I'm gonna guess
26.
26. Okay, I didn't ask that. How do you start your search, right? So, like for somebody from my generation, we started with the newspaper,
Mhm.
and it was radio, and it was TV, and then it moved into the digital world. But your generation completely searches differently than my generation does, even today.
Mhm.
So, just give us an example what that might look like.
So actually, as I started this job, I went through the whole car buying process, like buying a car for the first time, all my money, no help from mom or dad,
Oh,
just more of like I got to go through that process
yeah,
from
yeah,
the start. To be honest, I actually started on the OEM websites.
you did.
I think
Okay.
there's a big level of educate. Like you see, for example, the car I liked at first was the Kia Seltos.
Okay.
It's an economical SUV, interesting for the segment. They were doing a lot of creative things that really pushed the boundary on
Like what?
interior design. Just the way the car looked.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
it's
So
a
that
nice,
caught your eye.
caught my
A-
eye.
And you saw that on the OEM site.
Correct. Yeah, I
Okay.
wanted to get a better feel of what it is, what the MSRP would be for that car. But then I fell down the rabbit hole of learning. Okay, what are the competitors to the to that? Which I found the Santa Fe. I found Chevy Trailblazer, a bunch of different.
You start doing
types of
your
cars.
research in your discovery phase,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you're in that phase, where were you looking?
I was looking YouTube. I actually went and visited one of the local dealerships a little further south from here.
And you
Okay.
had a terrible experience at that dealership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to have somebody sell me a car which is not a Tesla at the price close to a Tesla is a bit crazy.
Well, it
Okay.
wasn't the money side of it. You just weren't treated right.
Yeah,
You were treated bad.
I think
Wow.
a big part of somebody's journey, and especially someone who's just going to a dealership to look, is to know your car, know
Yeah.
the cars that you're selling. A big problem that I had was trying to find the different features and is this going to fit in my garage? Is this going to fit, what I'm really looking
Right,
for in a car?
right.
And the Seltos it's a nice looking car, but it's also a subcompact SUV and was incredibly tiny. So it was a bit deceiving.
It didn't fit your needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess the point is, and what Joan's getting at is how the information is consumed, and the evolution of how you consume that information has changed as well. So prime example, it's like you went to your OEM sites, and then you went to YouTube, and you gathered all your information through YouTube. You made an educated decision to go to that dealership to find out if that actually fit for you.
And then I didn't make a purchase.
Right. You didn't make a purchase. So what was your default? Like, what'd you go back to as far as your learning?
To be honest, immediately after that, I wanted to change what manufacturer I was working with.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I had no interest in dealing with that local dealership as well as that brand.
So
in
you were
general.
turned off completely because of that,
interesting.
that experience you had at the dealership.
When you have a dealer who tries to sell you a car 11 grand over MSRP,
Yeah.
it's
But you walked in educated.
yeah.
So
I
you
walked
already
in.
knew
And they
that.
still tried.
Correct.
I walked in at
Mistake.
that point with no automotive industry experience. It was
Yeah.
just what
Yeah.
can I pull from Google that's going to give me a slight advantage
Ah.
in like the negotiation process.
But
Okay, cool.
your dealership experience turned you off completely where you didn't even want to go to that brand.
Yep.
So it goes back to what we've talked about millions of times before is that dealership's reputation and the upkeep of that reputation.
The training, staff
So,
training.
and that's terrible. You had a horrible experience because I'm sure Kia's like, well, hell, we just lost a sale because of
Yeah.
this.
Mhm.
Yeah. You were all in the beginning. If you had a good experience, it could have been a different outcome.
Right.
In a
Right.
big way.
Yeah.
I think especially when someone's coming to I came there with intent to buy a car. I wasn't going there to mess around.
Yeah.
But when someone doesn't even take an offer seriously, especially when I was putting a sizable down payment down,
Mm.
I think, money talks. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's a
They weren't
negotiation.
listening.
Yeah.
They weren't listening.
They just didn't want his
Exactly.
money. That's all.
That's interesting. So, okay, so let's take a step back, and you have this advertising marketing background. Now you're working for an automotive ad agency. You go and buy a car. Now you're in the back end of actual data for clients. Are you having any aha moments or something that you would say to a dealer or principal owner and go like, hey,
Make it easy to buy a car online. I think it's silly. For me.
transactional, they call it transgen now. We go
Mhm.
from lead gen to transgen, right? And who's
Mhm.
doing it best? Tesla. Right?
Tesla.
Look at the business model. It's working. People are buying cars a year ahead of time. How
Mhm.
did that happen?
Demand and good marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And for a company that has a very minimal marketing budget, of course, has a lot of help from a very, very popular CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
true.
Seeing the way that they are driving the industry and everyone has adapted to that model. You
Mhm.
look at the F-150 Lightning on how they did their whole deposit
Mhm.
structure.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest part that I would tell to a dealer right now is just being able to make it easy to at least fill out paperwork online. I mean, when
Yeah.
I eventually made my purchase decision, probably, start to finish, that was probably like a four week or so thing.
Mm-hmm.
I still sat in the dealership for 3 hours, and that was even after the negotiation part of it. That was after I was like, okay, like get me to the F&I manager and
Yeah.
started going through all
if
that.
you could have all the paperwork printed, ready to go, populate it, you walk in, you sign it in front of them, you get the keys, and you go.
Exactly. And it also, there's a level of transparency. There's no funny business in regards to APR, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You are seeing the documents. You have your own time to read it. You're not being rushed. I
You
think
feel like
it's-
the pressure is not even, as remote it would be to somebody staring you in the eyeball.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a place for negotiation.
But and that's
Dealers
also
have to make money.
I was going to say that dealers they're obviously in the industry to make money, and that's how they do that as well. Is certain tactics and techniques that they are taught and they absorb. So that's going to be a little bit of a change for them to be able to, that's part of
Hands
their
off.
sales tactics. That's again what they're taught. So now you're literally taking
Teaching.
you're taking that
Yeah.
away from them. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that there is
It's a
going to be some
shift.
hesitation
It's a shift.
from dealers to say that, yeah, we want to do it completely online. Now, I know a lot of dealers are.
Mm-hmm.
There
Mhm.
are dealers that are taking that step.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good step because you're prime example. You want that anonymity. You don't want to have to sit in front of somebody for
this
3
is
hours.
the new buying power. You gotta
Mhm.
you have to
next,
listen to
next is Bitcoins
it. Well,
and using the Bitcoins for a car.
that'll be interesting.
Anthony, I have a question for you.
What's that?
It's the zombie apocalypse. You are only allowed to have 3 people with you. Now, they can be loved ones, family members, they could be celebrities, they could be somebody who's passed. Who are those 3 people?
I believe his name's Norman Reedus, the dude with the crossbow from Walking Dead.
Okay.
I'm taking that
Okay.
guy number 1.
All right.
I'm taking Chuck Norris just because he's Chuck Norris.
I mean, it's Chuck Norris. So you got to have Chuck Norris with you.
And then probably a billionaire. I'll take someone who's got some money to throw around
So
and get us somewhere
speaking
safe.
of Tesla, Elon, are you going to bring Elon with you?
Out of any billionaire,
Money talks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Or crypto. I don't know. One of them. One of them will talk.
Crypto talks.
Something.
that sounds like a podcast.
So you
thing.
get, who's it, Norman Reedus,
Norman Reedus, Chuck
Yeah,
Norris,
Chuck Norris.
and I'll take Elon Musk. Why
All right.
not?
There's his
There you
3.
go. I like it.
That's a
I
pretty
like
good
it.
mix.
Cool. All right. One last question. And of course, I can't say the normal, what would you tell your 21-year-old self? Because he's only 26. So,
Well, it's still relative, though.
yeah. So, do you have a piece of advice that you would tell your 21-year-old self?
Fresh out of college,
Yeah.
yeah,
Starting a
and it's-
career, like looking back now? I mean,
and it's a pretty relevant time.
Okay.
I think it's a message that's driven home by Gary Vee pretty well.
okay.
But I'm going to take my own little spin on it.
Mhm.
Now's your time to really kind of be dangerous. I think it's a time to really dive deep. I mean, so I didn't take that path. My path was a little bit more of the path of least resistance at first, especially just coming out of school. It was a little harder to get a job than I thought it was going to be with just a college degree. And,
Yeah.
I had internship experience and some
Right.
experience going through college, but there was still a level of education that my college never gave me.
Right.
At
Right.
the end of the day, I think if it's something that you care about and it's something that you want to move forward with in your life and
Yeah.
create wealth for yourself, create
Yeah.
wealth for your family, I think it's your time to go as deep as you can, learn as much as you can, and
Do you
move
feel
forward.
like you jumped here to be able to learn more?
in a big way.
Okay.
So it was
I've
like
said it to Ron multiple times. I treat this place as more of like a dojo. You need to, as much as this is a job and you're here to do a job, I think there's a level of growth that happens when everyone's like-minded. I think in some of my past jobs, there were generally smaller companies. Everyone has their own unique silo. You know,
Right.
one person's in accounting, one person's doing this, one
Yeah.
person's doing that. When everyone is in the same field and everyone's talking about the same articles that come out, there's a level of
Energy and
it's
knowledge and wanting
It's-
to learn, I guess, is
wanting to be the dumbest person in the room, and that's how
cool.
I like being in those rooms
Yeah.
so it's
Very
like
good.
you put yourself out of your comfort zone.
in a big way.
Yeah.
I think it's like, for example, something I'm diving into now is understanding how these pixels are being implemented. Like everyone understands analytics and what a different metric may mean for a certain campaign, but do you actually understand the technology underneath that and how that's going to change in the next 2-3 years? If no one's taking those steps, then like someone's going to.
Yeah. Okay. When you learn it, you'll have to teach me.
Deal.
So
Cool.
21-year-old self, get
Dive
out
deep.
of the box.
Yeah.
Dive deep. Don't go out as much and learn.
It's exciting. I think it's exciting for his age group.
I think
Super exciting.
one of my favorite sayings is, "Don't be afraid to suck at something new."
I agree.
Cool.
Love it.
Anthony,
Good message at the end.
thank you for
Gracias.
visiting us today.
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll come back, share some more
course.
wisdom with us.
It'll be
And,
fun.
and some extra.
Yeah.
A lot of extra.
A
Yes.
lot of extra. We like extra.
Thank you, Anthony.
Cool. Thank you.
you.